We turn to the phone lines right now and welcome in one of my favorites, the great Robert Griffin III from the worldwide leader in sports. How are you, RG3?
I'm doing good, Rich, and as always, appreciate you having me on, brother.
Anytime. I love chopping it up with you, talking ball, and, you know, you always shoot it straight. And you popped a tweet out just, I think, a few days ago. And man, you didn't tell any lies in your mind for sure. And I want to know what you think here. The 49ers were done with Trey Lance the second they brought in Sam Darnold and made it an open competition for the backup job. I give you the floor on what you meant by that, Robert.
Yeah, Rich, I heard that you don't agree with that statement. And there's a reason. There's a reason I worded it the way that I did. I don't believe that the 49ers were done with Trey Lance when they brought Sam Darnold in. But the second it became or was proclaimed that it was an open competition and that these guys were competing to be the backup, essentially, that's when I felt like it was over. I don't understand how a guy like Trey Lance, who you traded the farm for to go up and get, also he was your starter going into week one last year, and he gets hurt, all of a sudden now turns around in year three, and he's competing to be QB2 with Sam Darnold, who's been on multiple teams now. That doesn't make much sense to me. So what it seems like is that what they saw from Trey Lance, whether it be in practice or in the games, the limited game action that he got over the past 2 years, they said, you know what, he's either going to figure it out or we got to give up on this guy. And, Rich, you've said it. A lot of people have said it. This normally does not happen when you trade up so much to go get a quarterback and your head coach and your GM are safe. But because they fell into a guy like Brock Purdy, the last pick in the draft, they're able to kind of skirt by, even though they made a colossal mistake in trading up so much to get Trey Lance now that he's their QB3.
Well, and that's why, and I appreciate you, hearing what I had to say, and I did say I would bring it up with you when you came on the show, and that's why I got right to it with you, Robert, is, when they got Darnold, Brock Purdy's right throwing elbow had just been surgically repaired. So if Lance wasn't going to be ready to go himself, they needed another option, and they brought Darnold in. I thought they brought Darnold in as Purdy insurance to begin with, and he wound up beating out Lance. So I just don't know if I took your tweet to mean that you just didn't think Lance had it in him, is why I wanted to bring that up. You just didn't think Lance is the minute you bring in a guy with 55 career starts and Darnold into the system, Lance was toast, and the Niners knew it, and they just wanted to see it play out to confirm it. Is that what you're saying, or am I misreading it?
Not what I'm saying at all. I think this is what I believe. No one in the league will tell you that Sam Darnold doesn't throw a pretty ball. He's got a howitzer on him, right? He can make every single throw on the football field. But the 55 starts that he's had in the league, no one would also say, man, you bring that guy in and whoever's in front of him, he's toast. They wouldn't say that either. So that's why I worded the tweet the way that I did, because I don't believe that Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers believe in Trey Lance. I don't believe that. So because of that, them bringing in Sam Darnold wasn't the problem. It was the fact that they brought in Sam Darnold and then they leaked it out to all of their inside NFL insiders and information people that Sam Darnold has an opportunity to potentially start for the 49ers if Brock Purdy is not ready to go. That, to me, is where it became a problem, and that happened almost immediately when Sam Darnold got there. It was everywhere. Darnold's killing it. Darnold's doing this. Darnold's doing that. And to me, I just feel like with Trey Lance in that situation, he just wasn't really given a true opportunity to go out and prove it.
What would you counsel Trey Lance to do right now, Robert?
Well, Rich, I listen to your show, and because I like you, and I think you guys do a phenomenal job, by the way.
Thank you.
But I'm going to echo what some other people have said that are in the know there in San Francisco, and Trey Lance needs to stay in San Francisco. The coach that drafted him, the GM that drafted him, although they don't have pie on their face right now because they found Brock Purdy, they're going to be more loyal to him than any other team will. Because at the end of the day, if things don't work out with Brock Purdy, they don't work out with Sam Darnold, and somehow, some way, Trey Lance gets an opportunity and he shines in San Fran, it's just going to be even more praise that goes on top of the GM and the head coach because they stuck with him. But they have, I don't want to say an obligation, but they're more willing to give him time to develop than a new organization will be. And I just would hate to see Trey Lance bounce around the league to 3, 4, 5 teams and be out of the league in a couple of years because other teams weren't willing to give him enough time to develop. I think the Niners still will do that if everything that they've said to the press is the truth and that they still believe in Trey and they want him to be there.
So, and it would make sense for them to hold on to him because if any team knows that you need a fourth quarterback, it's them, right? So he would be the third going in, but I understand if he has hard feelings, difficult feelings right now that he'd have to get over, for the lack of a better phrase. Which team, however, Robert Griffin III, would you counsel to go get Trey Lance? Which one would you say should go get him right now if he's available?
Wow. I mean, that's a tough one, Rich, because with a guy like Trey Lance, the bottom line is he needs to play. You outlined it yesterday perfectly about just how he hasn't been able to really catch a break at any point, it feels like, since his last year in college. You talk about him only playing one game because of COVID. Then he comes in, and as a rookie, he's got Jimmy G there. He comes in, he plays decently early when he's playing a couple spot duty type of things, but Jimmy G takes over. He gets hurt, comes back the next year, gets hurt. I just don't know if teams out there will give him the opportunity to truly go out there and ride the roller coaster of what it can be like sometimes with a young quarterback. So it's hard to give a team, to be quite honest with you, Rich. I don't know. A team that needs a starter right now, but that's going to have time to wait on a guy like that. That's a tough ask. We just saw Baker Mayfield win the job in Tampa. Would that be a decent spot for Trey Lance to go? Yeah, it would, because he's got great weapons around him. But that's a team that's also trying to win right now. So are they going to give him the grace period that he's going to need for 7-8 games to try to figure it out? I don't know.
Robert Griffin.
There are very many teams in the league that do a great job of developing quarterbacks right now. And, he's basically going to become the new Sam Darnold when it comes to being a reclamation project. And some coaches will be willing to take that on for sure.
Robert Griffin III getting set to be out there on Monday Night Football on ESPN before kickoff every single Monday on the worldwide leader in sports right here on the Rich Eisen Show. What'd you glean from Ravens versus Washington at all, Robert? What'd you get there? What'd you get out of that?
Well, we talked about this, Rich, with the Ravens on Monday Night Countdown, that they are the only ones that truly care about the record, that preseason record. So I know
Washington sure looked like they cared about it, Robert. They said all week they didn't, and then they were grittying in the end zone and they were celebrating at the end. I mean, sure looked like they enjoyed breaking that up to me. Watching that game.
Yes, little battle of Beltway there going on between the Ravens and the Commanders. Sam Cosmi, doing the gritty in the end zone, I thought was funny. I also heard that, or witnessed them play their starters well into, the throughout the first half to try to secure that. But at the end of the day, I know a lot of people think that record doesn't matter. I, for one, having been a Baltimore Raven and been coached by Coach Harbaugh, I know that for a fact they absolutely care about the record. They believe it shows off great coaching, depth of the roster, and all those things. And how you do one thing is how you do everything, so they're always trying to win. But for sure, Rich, I agree with you. After Cosmi's comments about taking the record, the Commanders definitely came showing up to that preseason game like it was a real game.
Okay, and so two things. Sam Howell looks like he has it. Robert, what do you think?
Yes, I am in on slinging Sammy Howell. I'm telling you guys, I watched the guy in college at North Carolina. Beautiful deep ball. I think people underestimate his athleticism and his ability to use his legs. He was a great runner in high school. He was a great runner his last year there at North Carolina. And at the end of the day, I know Scary Terry with his turf toe injury might not be available for the first game or earlier in the year. But these guys, they've got so many weapons on the offensive side of the ball that it's going to make it a little bit easier for Sam to kind of go out there and make plays. The one touchdown throw he had, I believe, 2 weeks ago to Jaha Dotson on like a sail route, it wasn't a perfect ball, but Dotson made a great catch and then ran it in for a touchdown. It's plays like that, or as I like to call them, Rich, HBO type of plays, help a brother out, he's going to have those all over the place with the weapons that they have on offense. And then Eric Bieniemy, I think, is going to be big for him as well. Having worked with Mahomes for so many years, I'm just a believer in Sam Howell's ability. And what he's shown in the preseason gives me no doubt that he can go out there and be QB1 for the Commanders.
Well, and with Odell and on the other side of the field with the Ravens, Odell, Zay Flowers, there could be some more HBO plays for, I guess, Lamar if this offense looks anything like we're assuming it to be. What did you glean at all from the preseason, from what you've heard, from who you talked to? What is the Ravens offense going to look like? One of the biggest mysteries going into the season in my
Yeah,
book.
Rich, you're 100% accurate and right about the HBO help a brother out type of plays for Lamar Jackson with the Ravens, or as I like to say it, the Ravens stopped using Splenda. They decided to get that original brown sugar for their offense. They have been relying on Lamar Jackson to do everything for them for the past 4 or 5 years, and now he's going to have an opportunity to have guys like OBJ, to have guys like Zay Flowers, who has been the rave of camp. You get back Rashad Bateman healthy. You got Mark Andrews, one of the best tight ends in the entire NFL, who continues to produce year after year after year. J.K. Dobbins is back. Gus Edwards, Justice Hill. I know all of these guys because a lot of them were my teammates when I was there in Baltimore, but I also went to practice last week and was able to watch those guys up close and personal. And what you're going to see from this offense is just a whole lot more control of it at the line of scrimmage from Lamar Jackson. With Greg Roman, he would go to the line with two play calls, can system. Everyone that's in NFL circles knows what that is. But now he's going to have an opportunity to go to the line of scrimmage and basically have the entire playbook at his disposal so he can play the game based off how he sees it. And Todd Monken has trusted him to do that, something that he hasn't been trusted to do in Baltimore before, but now he is. And talking to Lamar, he's super excited about that because it allows him to play the game a little bit more free, which if you watch him play, he loves to play it free.
A few more minutes left with one of my favorites from Monday Night Countdown and ESPN. We've got Robert Griffin III here on the Rich Eisen Show. The rookie quarterback who will have the best season is?
Ooh, the rookie that'll have the best season, I think it'll be Bryce Young. I think the support system he has around him with the coaches is phenomenal. Josh McCown being his quarterback coach, one of my former teammates, I just think there's not a better guy that he could have got as a quarterback coach to start this thing out. And then the way they built the roster around him, giving him experience, guys like, Adam Thielen, and for, Miles Sanders coming there at running back. And Bryce's ability, you haven't really been able to see it, I feel like, in the preseason because it's been a little rocky for them. But once the season gets going and they start game planning for these defenses, I think you're going to see his true special qualities come out. But I think it's just the situation he's in is going to allow him to have the best season. Because of what the team around him looks like right now.
What if the Colts somehow solve what's going on with Jonathan Taylor and get him on the field for Anthony Richardson? What do you think?
Yeah, I think, Rich, what you're going to see out of Anthony Richardson is a little bit of what you saw his last year in college, right? He's going to have games. I called his game against Texas A&M last year, and he was on fire. I think he threw for 200, ran for 100. Had 2 throwing touchdowns, a couple rushing, and he hit all the easy plays, made them look easy, and then the spectacular plays, he made them look spectacular. But then you're also going to have some games like he did last year against Missouri when receivers are dropping passes, he's a little off rhythm, and I think that's the roller coaster the Colts are going to be on. But to really answer your question, I have no clue, Rich, why they are trying to trade Jonathan Taylor. If I am Anthony Richardson, I have said, what are we doing, people? This guy's been our best offensive player for the past 3 years, 3-4 years through the quarterback carousels of all the starting quarterbacks. Why not keep this guy here? Because he's going to make my job easier as a quarterback. If I'm Anthony Richardson, he can't say anything, obviously, because he's a rookie. But I'm sending, making blocked phone calls to Jim Irsay saying, "Come on, man, don't get rid of this guy. He's the bread and butter of our offense, and I think he makes everybody's job easier, not just the quarterback."
And again, this is no insider information when I say this, Robert Griffin III. I'm just this looks to me like Chris Ballard and Jim Irsay saying to Jonathan Taylor, "Look, man, we love you. You're not happy here. You want to go somewhere else. We will pay you. We'll talk about the contract after the season, but not now. That's just the way we're going to do it." And if you don't like it and you say you want to be traded, well, there's the door. And, and I totally understand that you say, why would they trade him? Don't trade him. The compensation they're asking back for him is kind of indicating to everyone they don't intend to trade him, because who is going to trade Christian McCaffrey type return and pay a guy who 2 weeks before the season and just totally change all of their plans at running back for this year and salary cap for years in advance? I mean, who's going to just do that on the fly? It is possible, but it's not likely, and so that's what I think is at play right now. If I had to guess, that's what's at play right now.
Yeah, Rich, and you've been around for a long time, so you understand, just how the thought process goes for these executives, and they know they have all the leverage with Jonathan Taylor right now. Because it's so close to the season, everything that you mentioned, it plays a part for sure, because everybody else in the league seems to be pretty much set at the running back position. Mm-hmm. We were having conversations off air on Monday Night Countdown, and we're like, well, what are the best teams for Jonathan Taylor to go to that really would warrant that type of Christian McCaffrey return? And it was hard to find one that, they just really need a running back, and that'll put them over the top. Yes, Jonathan Taylor is one of the best running backs in the league, and he would be an upgrade for a lot of teams, but is he a necessary upgrade for the amount of draft capital you're going to have to give up? I don't really see that for a team right now. But, yes, he's in a bad spot. He can either, continue to request a trade, and maybe it does happen, maybe it doesn't. But when you look at the Colts as a team, you've got this young quarterback in there. Why would you want to have this much controversy and this much of a media firestorm around something when you're trying to develop this young quarterback? I don't think that is a smart business plan, and maybe that's what Jonathan Taylor and his agent are looking at to say, hey, we can either start off this relationship with Anthony Richardson on a positive note or a negative note. It's your call, and I think they're both just trying to call each other's bluff.
And obviously the entire dynamic we just chopped up could change if there's a significant injury at that position for a team that is Super Bowl ready over the weekend, a la, say, Teddy Bridgewater, not to speak anything into existence like that, but that may be what is the last step to see what happens from there on out, which, is leads me to my final question for you. Anything can obviously change over this weekend in the next 13 days, but I don't know if I'm going to get you back on before the beginning of the season, so I will ask you. You're the first time asking this. Your Super Bowl prediction for this upcoming season, Robert Griffin III. What do you have for me right now?
My Super Bowl prediction.
Yes, sir. I know. You're going to be asked this by every producer in your life over the next 13 days, and you're going to have to say it, but I figured I'd get you while I got you,
No, you're 100% right. I would give it a couple contingencies, obviously.
Understood.
If the Ravens stay healthy, I believe the Baltimore Ravens will win the Super Bowl this year. I just think with Lamar Jackson with those weapons, if he stays healthy the entire season, he now has the Jimmies and the Joes to help him in the playoffs. X's and O's has always got them there, and his obviously unique ability. But now he's got the Jimmies and the Joes that can make some plays when you need them late in the playoffs, like we've seen from all the other, Super Bowl winning teams out there. If the Chiefs get Chris Jones back and that doesn't become something that goes late into the season, that's a very popular pick. I think they win it and they build that dynasty. They become a dynasty from that standpoint. It's hard to do this business, that, Rich, because everyone wants to pick the off-the-wall pick that's going to win so they can come back later and say, I told you so. I don't play by those rules. I just go by what I see. I know what the Ravens have. I know what they can do. And the Kansas City Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes, and they've done an amazing job retooling everything around him, and that defense will be much better as long as they get Chris Jones.
And if your NFC team that you believe those teams would beat in Vegas who's your NFC team? You got to choose both. Come on now.
Team.
Come on now.
That's a tough one too, but I'm gonna go with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Jalen Hurts is going to come into the year even more confident than he was last year. If he was at all not confident, he went out and performed like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL and outplayed Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. So I don't know how the Eagles did it, Rich, but they went into the offseason. They lost more talent than any top team in the league and still found a way to get better. I don't know how they did it on defense with Jalen Carter and bringing in Nolan Smith from Georgia, retooling basically Georgia's national championship defense. And I think on offense, they'll be even more in rhythm. Jalen will now have his quarterback coach calling plays for him. I think they're gonna be the team in the NFC.
You're the man, Robert. I truly love watching you, as you know, go about your career, and you're on Monday Night Countdown with a whole new cast. You know, Scott Van Pelt and the crew. I look forward to seeing it, and look for more of my calls and texts. As always, thank you for the time.
Hey, appreciate you, Rich.
Right back
God
at
bless,
you.
brother.
Right back at you. Robert Griffin III. I adore my chats with him, his appearances here, and our friendship right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.